Mysore, and he has 86 publication, and he wrote several book chapters and books. So I think he is the person to talk about legal aspect of psychiatry today, the JJ Act. So sir, please start.
Thank you, Dr. Sharmila. At the outset, I thank our President, N.N. Raju Garu, President-elect Vinayji, Brother Arbinda, Alim Bhai, and Opida for speaking good words about me. And I should thank the organizers of this program, under the advisorship of Dr. Jyoti Shetty, along with all the ladies, very active ladies, and Dr. Naresh Wadlamani. In fact, it's a privilege for me to learn something from Dr. Satyanathan, who is a legal luminary, and also Sri Ananya Chakrabarti, ma'am, who has been quite active in this committee in the West Bengal. So, without wasting much time, I start with my presentation. Is it visible? Are the slides visible?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, visible.
Okay. So I will give JJ Act from the perspective of psychiatrists. I mean, what psychiatrists need to know. Well, I was listening to informally what Vinayji was telling. You may not be interested in law, but definitely the law of the land is very much interested in every citizen. And we ought to know as a professional, one of the important acts where the mental health professional is very much involved. Why the importance of juvenile justice? Because children everywhere throughout the world are vulnerable for abuse and exploitation, even mainly from the known people. We all know how much scientific data we have in the background. Something to mention about how this JJ Act developed across in India. See, the first act, as Pallavi was mentioning, it came in 1986. We all know that India being a signatory to UN, so the United Nations Convention on Rights of Child, following the 1985 Beijing rules, where there should be a minimum standard for juveniles encountering with the law, okay, either as a victim or as a perpetrator. So this 1986 Juvenile Justice Act came into commission. So, but only in 2000 it really got its due. So the main terminology which came up in 1986 was about the diversion. Diversion in the sense, see, the children are not, kept into the trial just like adults. So magistrate or even the solicitors, the lawyers, they don't wear usual clothes. Okay, they need a special kind of setup where the child is not threatened or felt anxious or fearful. Okay, so this kind of diversion came in, and detention was used as the last resort. So primarily 86 focused on that. Then came the necessity of care and protection for the child. And of course, India being a vast country with regional variation, so the applicability was not so effective. So which was emphasized in JJ Act of 2000. 2000 went into amendments even in 2006 and 2011, but 2015 was a fresh act. So we found some of the changes in the terms used. Why this 2015 is very important? Because the adoption process for the child was quite difficult, because CWC itself was acting like a, the magistrate authority, but later on authority was given. See, the CARA, Central Adoption Resource Agency, had to take up this, and then it was sorted by 2015. And some of the time frames were not maintained, and the time frame was well established in 2015 Act. Some terminologies which were changed were like the word capture, remand, blame, charge sheet, indictment, warrant, summons, conviction, detainee, reprobate, ignored, custody, prison. These were actually, were discontinued or not encouraged in the legal terms to be brought in. So what legal terms change was a legitimate consideration of these kind of definitions. Okay, there was an extension of definition of some of the terminologies, and then more importance not only to development and growth, but also reassurance. Okay, advancement, treatment, training, and social remix was emphasized by this JJ Act of 2015. I will not be going into the sections because that's not quite important from the psychiatrist perspective. I just get into the overview so that what are the key features or what are the key points that you need to know from this act. As Pallavi was introducing, there are two categories of children. One, child in need of care and protection. And of course, now juvenile is not used. Actually, child in conflict with law is used when there was reframing of the terminologies. So what do you mean by child in need of care and protection? A child in need of care and protection is one, for various reasons, are having difficulty for the survival and the growth of the child. I'll explain what are those. I'll give some examples. Whereas the juvenile in conflict with the law is those child who are alleged to have committed some kind of an offense. So there are entirely two different categories that has been dealt by this act. So who is a child in need of care? Of course, we all know that India has almost 1/3 to 40% of our population is below 18 years old. India is having one of the highest child population across the world. And still we are facing something like child labor and child marriages. A lot of time our JJV involves in preventing child marriages and inspects with regard to child labor, any kind of deprivation for the growth or destitution or neglect. And who are the child in conflict with law? Someone who has committed an offense, which is classified into basically three groups. One is a petty crime or a serious crime or heinous or obnoxious crime. Petty means when the punishment is under 3 years. So it can be just a theft, things like that. A serious crime is something like counterfeiting or cheating. So where the punishment varies between 3 to 7 years. And a heinous crime like murder or a rape, probably say Justice Verma, following the Nirbhaya case, everything set in developing this Juvenile Justice 2015 Act. And 2015, some controversy it brought in because more than rehabilitation, it was bit retributive. So it was more stronger with regard to punishment. Now, when there are two different issues that have been tackled by this JJA, so two separate authorities were constituted as per the Act. One is the Child Welfare Committee for the child in need of care and protection, and the JJB for the child in conflict with law. And who are the members of the board? Okay, everything is well defined there, and usually a magistrate. Earlier, what would happen is a district magistrate would, chief judicial magistrate would be the chairperson, but since he had a lot of other duties, we all know that any government organization in India, it lacks human resources for the demand of the population. So a magistrate with a member of the NGO or a social worker, okay, such kind of people constitute, and lot of emphasis has been given to the voluntary organizations and social workers. And strictly speaking, psychiatry itself is more than a medical science; it's a social science. So we have a lot of role right from child in care as well as the child who is in conflict of law. There are 14 significant changes that have been brought up uh, following JJ Act 2015. You all know that a fair legal proceeding, which definitely doesn't interfere with the rights of the child, which keeps the best interest of the child. And I know the uh, slide is a bit crowded, but I'll go one by one so that these significant changes are quite important. So whenever the child is under trial or convicted, so earlier it was 1 month for the evaluation, but now it goes up to 3 months. Another clause which is very vital in the fair trial was the special needs of the child. So a child friendly or a disabled friendly atmosphere has to be created by the infrastructure development. And when we say special needs, who will determine? It has to be either a medical specialist or a mental health professional. So you can know from where, from the first contact itself. Sometimes you may have to break the confidentiality in order to, for both the cases, okay, child in need of protection and also conflict of law, informing the suitable authority. And child will get the social right, no form of disqualification or elimination in case of education or job after 21 years when he fulfills all the legal requirements and then gets into the mainstream. And records will be destroyed so that it doesn't harm his growth or further future development. Except we have seen some cases of habitual childhood offenders where they are exceptional cases. The period to rethink about the decision of adoption has been changed from 1 to 3 months. Aftercare, which is very vital, because just an one-time intervention or observation in the institutional care would not suffice. A follow-up, okay, and the follow-up of up to 1 month is needed, how the child is doing. These children can take financial aid along with what is called as legal aid. The district legal services authority, the onus is on the district legal services authority to give a lawyer, okay, so no child will be devoid of any legal support. And priority for disabled children in case of interstate adoption. So the CARA has that provisions now. And the time period when the children are kept in the observation home. Excuse me. Okay. Observation in the child care facility from 30 to 60 days. So, of course, we all know the best environment will be with the biological parents. So, when inevitable, we have to get them out of it. And consultation and advice will always be taken at any point of time from either mental health or the medical specialists like pediatricians or any other special need requirements. Training, because Juvenile Justice Act 2000 emphasized that there should be a separate police station, okay, a juvenile police station in every district. So such kind of people who are involved will have to undergo a training how they need to deal with the children. And national commissions and state commissions for the protection of child rights will act as the nodal specialist in implementing this Juvenile Justice Act. Those were the 14 very important changes that were brought following JJ Act of 2015. What's important is the special homes which I was mentioning. So those juveniles or children in conflict with law, when the trial is going on, they'll be kept in the observation home, and then probably in a kind of shelter homes. Okay, once they have been convicted, and then people, I mean, children who are in need of care and protection, they'll be in safety homes. Okay, the or children homes, group homes. Okay, so and there is some requirements that needs to be fulfilled when running a such kind of a home. So following that, there is support for foster homes, sponsorships, and then adoption. Finally, the aftercare follow-up also will be emphasized. Now, counseling, again, both medical as well as medical meaning screening and evaluation for the medical issues, and then the physical and mental capacity. You all know when I say physical and mental capacity, the biological aspects. And most of these are tried to be done as much as community services are possible. So preventing institutionalization, because we all know, in fact, I will emphasize something about the institutionalization, because as a member of inspection committee, when we go, we have seen quite a lot of such kind of psychological disturbances. And I'll tell you, when the COVID was in really high peak, many of the homes had to shut down and then send these children back to their home, and police had a difficult time following it up. So social worker plays an important role, okay, and will be part of the child welfare committee, and they have a certain time period where these committee members work. Now, personal appearance, any child will have to be briefed, and then the consent and the participation. So there are many principles, like principles of presumption of innocence, principle to maintain privacy and confidentiality. Such kind of principles are taken into consideration. And here we have to emphasize the child rights, and personal appearance is given quite important due respect. Suppose sometimes when there is a difference where the trial goes and the mother tongue or the child's place of origin, so you have to provide a translator as well. I mean, such kind of due diligence has been allocated by this JJ Act. And then juvenile are as much as possible kept outside the jail, and the inspection committee can inspect the regular jail where the adults are kept, because sometimes either oversight or sometimes unknowingly a juvenile may be kept in a jail in the regular adult jail. So the inspection committee can definitely go and inspect such places in order to protect the interest of the child. And probation, as you all know, release and then trying to keep him continuing his education is much emphasized. And the inquiry needs to be completed within 4 months, and there is a time frame when the committee has to sit, and when the committee has to send the information to the magistrate, and then who will be on duty, because one of the member has to be there 24 hours when the police approaches. So I mean, the person can't say that it's not a working hour. So such kind of detailed process of the law has been explained, and if it is not completed within 4 months, the reasons has to be given, and And now state governments have the onus of implementing this act, which is very vital. So finally, why, uh, I mean, as a psychiatrist, institutional care should be the last alternative. We all know it's an universally accepted fact that family is the best environment where child can grow. With divided family and single parent family, we all know how much social development is being hampered. And if at all there is no option, then the group homes, where which is very similar to that of you know uh, the developing aspects of the child are taken care of. And we have a lot of scientific data that definitely institutions will prevent some of the will set in some of the psychological disturbances like this. So on the one hand, we have emotional deprivation, maternal deprivation, and then interpersonal relationship problems, isolation from the society, and difficulty in adjusting with the society or getting back to the mainstream, separation anxiety. Even though the child doesn't have mental retardation, but there can be developmental delays for under exposure or under stimulation. So low self-esteem, failure of trust. I mean, we have seen sometimes even within the homes some kind of abuse and trauma children undergoing. So a lot of such negative impacts does happen with these homes, but it's a kind of a devil in the deep sea. We have to find a better way. So I end my presentation at this point of time, and then look forward for the panel discussion. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much.